Welcome to Podcast West Seattle Pandemic Diaries. I'm your host, Andrew. On each episode of Pandemic Diaries, we briefly check in on our family of four living in quarantine.
Eggnog! Cookies!
And then hear from a member of the community about how the pandemic has affected them. On this episode, we talk with Endolyne Joe's owner, Peter Levy.
Well, it was heartbreaking, especially given the time of year.
This is Podcast West Seattle Pandemic Diaries. It has been 282 days since our family went into pandemic quarantine. There's me, my wife Elizabeth, 6-year-old Felix, and 3-year-old Alice. Other than Grandma and Grandpa, we're not really seeing other people. That isolation has been more impactful during this most recent stretch of quarantine, which included Christmas. With time away from the rest of our families adding up, the Christmas holiday has been hard, but we are extremely fortunate to be able to spend time with Grandma and Grandpa during the holidays and continue many of the regular traditions. Many of those traditions, of course, revolve around food.
Another thing I like is cookies.
The main Christmas food in our house is cookies.
Chocolate truffle cookies. Chocolate truffle cookies.
Lots of cookies.
We also made ginger molasses cookies, and they're also really good.
Some molasses.
We also made ginger snaps cookies.
My favorites are the chocolate cutouts and the chocolate truffle cookies.
Hazelnut cookies.
We made the cookies over a couple week period, probably like
chocolate cutouts.
5 separate days.
And meltaways.
Of course, there are other foods too. One of my favorites is roast beef sliders on Christmas Eve.
Around the holidays, my mom always makes something called tortellini and brodo, which is tortellini and beef broth, and it's delicious.
One of my favorite traditions is having meatless lasagna on Christmas Eve.
Eggnog!
Well, pumpkin pie was one, but it's sort of been replaced by roast beef, which we have taken to have for Christmas dinner the last few years.
We eat on Christmas.
What did we eat on Christmas? We had roast beef and potatoes.
All of this holiday eating leaves less time and budget for getting takeout. Back on Pandemic Diaries 2.1, Persia from Supreme predicted a hard winter for restaurants if indoor dining went away and large holiday groups couldn't come in. Well, that's happened, and the restaurant casualties have started to add up. One restaurant that recently made the difficult decision to temporarily close is one that is a bit of a favorite in our house, Endolyne Joe's. I wanted to hear more about this decision and be reassured that Joe's will be coming back, so I talked to someone who would know.
Peter Levy, owner, Endolyne Joe's.
I asked Peter what it was like making this decision.
Well, it was heartbreaking and heart-rendering, most specifically for my employees in the short term, especially given the time of year. The early on phase one, we had, when we had to close the dining room back in March, the support from the neighborhood was incredible, over the top, and it kept us going until we were able to open the dining room for phase two, while still suffering through significant losses, even when the dining room was open. When they shut us down again, to where we could only do curbside and delivery, the business wasn't there like it was before.
The cold weather, short days, and holiday season has made the takeout-only model even harder to sustain.
I totally understand that everybody is so fatigued with this situation right now, that the enthusiasm for dining out or getting to-go food has been diminished somewhat. Our landlords have been very understanding and have been terrific landlords for us for all the years, and they have, reduced our rent to help us out. So we're getting help from other areas. That being said, losses have been mounting in a staggering fashion since March.
There's a choice many restaurant owners are faced with right now. Keep pushing forward and hope for the best, or close up with enough money in the bank to start up again later.
It was important to me to have enough money to reopen the restaurant. So we got to the point where in order to get the business back on its feet, we had to reserve enough capital to do that, so that's what we did. So our intent is to wait until Governor Inslee moves back into phase two, where at least we can get a 50% dining capacity in the dining room. I expect that we're going to see an incredible spike in cases through the month of January, and I'm hoping that we can get back open by March 1st. But it's all dependent on the conditions on the ground. So we'll just have to see. We're just up in the air.
Thanks, Peter. We hope to be eating food from Joe's again by spring. That's all for this episode of Podcast West Seattle Pandemic Diaries. We'll be back again soon with a different perspective when we visit with a business that newly opened since the pandemic began. Until then, stay healthy and stay safe.